Okay, it's 5:30, so I will call the select board meeting February 11th, 2025 to order. Are there any additions to and deletions from the posted agenda?
Unless the chair has an issue, we can take off the executive session.
I don't see a need for executive session.
Perfect.
Carrie, Ray, any additions or deletions?
None from me.
Okay. Citizens' comments. So this is where if anybody wants to tell us anything that's not on the agenda, they can speak.
Okay,
So if you
You
could,
just have to take the podium and state your name.
this is official.
Yeah, just stand at the podium and tell us who you are.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I had
could you say your name?
Peter Pickett,
Thank you.
South Woodstock. I live in South Woodstock. 40 years. The reason that I came was because I asked if we could just have permission to go ahead and finish a redesign presentation of the South Woodstock water treatment plant. The design subcommittee has been disbanded, and I was late at finding out about that. So went ahead with plans and then with a suggestion, and then saw Eric about it. And I have that suggestion here. My basic proposal about how to deal with that sewage treatment plant is to put siding on it and put a mansard roof on the upper edge. I have talked with, I have 50 people who signed a petition saying that they would love to see something like that. I understand that the town would like to just paint it and be done with it. But what I'm proposing, I believe, is more aesthetically pleasing, and there are people in South Woodstock who would donate, I believe, we'll see, would donate enough money to make it happen, and it wouldn't cost the town a dime. So it would be a better appearance and cost the town less money, and we could have it done this spring.
So I'll just explain where, with the agenda, where we are on citizens' comments. We can hear you. We don't engage in a conversation because it hasn't been warned to the public. So other people can't weigh in because they didn't know about this. So that what the select board does now is they can discuss with Eric whether or not this will be put on a future agenda. And then we would let people know that it's on the agenda and they could come and talk. So
Right.
You've brought it to our attention, and now it's up to the chair and Eric and people to decide. I can tell you the February agenda is already set, so it wouldn't be discussed in February because that's next week. We've already met and set that agenda. So
Okay,
that's
that
just the
works.
process. That's a process issue with the fact that we have to let the public know when we're discussing an item, and the only thing on the agenda today is the naming the Vondell for the grant.
Okay.
So
May I ask a question that may not?
a procedural question, yeah. I mean, I don't think.
Procedural, yes, it's a procedural question.
Sure.
It seems to me that it would be more appropriate for me to actually take the ideas and the sketches that I have to a more public place. Like, for instance, if I were to go up to the store and talk to the South Woodstock General Store and talk to people and say, this is what I think we want to do. What do you think we should do? Is that acceptable?
That's your decision. I mean, if you want to do that, I think, prior to being on the agenda, I would make sure Eric had a copy of your petition. And is it a recent petition or is it the one from?
He has a copy of the sketch that I made
Okay.
of how to deal with this.
Okay.
And I also have a copy of that, Eric, so I could show it to people. I have talked with people, I got 50 people who signed a petition saying, yeah, we would like to do something different, but they didn't have anything to look at. What you had makes it like, oh,
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
done?
Done, thanks. Yeah. As much
Thank
as
you.
we can do when it's not on, when it's not been warned.
No, I understand. Appreciate that responsibility.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, and just for your FYI, your information, I went and saw Jeff and Tracy both, and they had said one thing to me and nothing to you, and Jeff said, it's simple, he said, and Tracy said, anything would be better than what we've got. So, yeah, what you said sounded great. Then Greg said, we're gonna do this and be done with it. That's better than what we got. But that, he wasn't speaking out of both sides of his mouth.
Yeah.
One thing and then,
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
okay.
So on to the reservoir, the land trust in an application with the VHCB Friday. And they have to have a name. Yep. So, I mean, it doesn't mean we always have to call it that, but it is going to be on the land trust documents. It'll be on their mapping. So I think it probably will be what we end up calling it.
And I think we asked the public for some feedback, and I sent the board a few names. One was the Woodstock Preserve, another one was the Vondell Pond, with the option of adding park, conservation area, town forest, or preserve to it. Another one was the Vondell Nature Reserve. And the final one mentioned using the name Cobb, as according to the History Center, that was a family that owned the property for the majority of its history, with the Vondell family apparently only owning it for a limited time. So those names that came through the public over the last 2 weeks.
Greg, do you?
My opinion is something with Vondell in it.
Yeah, keep
Everybody
Vondell.
knows it that way now. Maybe it was
Yeah.
Cobb back then, but, that's my opinion.
I am partial to how we call it now. I'm partial to the Vondell Reservoir. I realize that that's speaking to a body of water. So, you know, if there's a semantics issue, I'm willing, I agree with Greg. And if, you know, I defer to the folks who've known the property and been using it for a long time.
I think
And
it's been called the Vondell Reservoir forever, so I like the continuity.
I'd like to put Cobb in there, just recognizing that those are the people that really settled it. So I kind of like Vondell Cobb, something, just because the Vondell family was a very temporary owner, and I don't know how I'm not even sure they owned property, so I'm not really sure how their name got it, but I agree, it's been that forever, but I think it would be nice to honor the people that actually settled the property up there.
That sounds good. So what if we call it Vondell Cobb Reservoir formally, and then people can still call it the Vondell?
Do you want reservoir or
Reservoir,
reserve?
reserve. I don't like preserve.
I don't like preserve either.
Yeah.
Carrie, do you care about the descriptor?
And I know Lisa wants to speak on this.
I mean, I would say reservoir or reserve,
I agree.
but Vondell Cobb is fine. To me.
And we have one, I don't know about anybody else on Zoom, but I know we have someone in the audience that wants to.
Hi, it's
talk.
Lisa Lawler, Woodstock resident. I actually think Cobb Vondell would be better to flip it because Cobb is the original owner. And so giving him the first place would be better than the other way. Vondell would still be in there, but we would acknowledge the original owner. And some of the land is not the reservoir, right? You have to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's-
no.
Yeah,
Call
so
it, you can't just say reservoir because there's land, right?
Yeah, the reservoirs are
it's
a
it's
small part.
the body of water there.
overall-
Right, so
Yeah.
you have to, you can't just call it the reservoir, can you?
I mean,
That's what it's
I
known.
mean, that's what it's been
Reserve.
called forever, but, you know, we can say reserve. Ray?
Silent.
all right, so on the table, Cobb, Vondell.
Vondell Cobb. I understand Lisa's point. Somehow I think Vondell Cobb flows better.
I agree.
I agree too.
So reserve, reservoir, or just the Vondell Cobb.
Vondell Reservoir Reserve.
Vondell
Oh,
Cobb.
Cobb in there. Let the Cobb
Lost
it
the
up.
thread already, Greg.
I'm not, that's,
I'm really not partial to one or the other.
were any of the suggested names from the public reservoir?
No, we had Cobb, reserve, town forest, preserve. Conservation area, park, so it could be the Vondell Cobb Park. Vondell Cobb Conservation Area, Vondell Cobb Forest, Preserve, Reserve.
I'm just like I'm doing the initials, seeing what
VCR.
VCR,
Oh, I have-
VCRA. Yeah, I know.
I have VCR tapes. if anyone
Exactly.
wants.
Other parks.
Park.
Yeah. Faulkner Park,
Review Park,
Tribute Park,
East End Park,
Gun Park,
Faulkner Forests,
Eagles Landing.
Fields Landing.
I like Reserve. It's close to Reservoir.
I do too. Yeah. You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to apply for the previously discussed grant for the Vermont Land Trust application as the Vondell Cobb Reserve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was not,
That was a reluctance.
that was not very enthusiastic.
It's begun.
Okay. Was there anything that could make you enthusiastic, Greg?
No, because it's too long. I would say Vondell Cobb Reservoir Reserve, but it makes it way.
No, what did you propose, Laura? What did you propose?
Vondell Cobb Reserve. Not preserve, reserve with an R.
Reserve. I mean,
We're still at this, we can still discuss.
I don't think we need to. People are just gonna call it what they're gonna call it. Just
Yeah,
like
Okay,
S6. So
We'll
I think
still
we,
call it
Right.
the Vondell.
right,
Yeah.
probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, all those, the motion is to name it Vondell Cobb Reserve. All
There,
those-
there was a second, right? Greg did second it, yeah.
Yes, reluctantly. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? So since I can't seem to get away from Vondell, there are two other little things to think about, not to vote. One is that presently in the land trust grant, the actual body of water is exempt from the conservation. And that was done because the land trust just copied the current use plan, and current use doesn't apply to bodies of water. From an ecological standpoint, the feeling is the water should be included. We actually don't have to make any, I mean, that could be
Okay.
decided 10 years from now. The application has to go in Friday with an appraisal, and if we change that now, we have to
Change the appraisal.
change the
Change the
appraisal.
appraisal, okay.
So it just came up last week, but just to put that in your thought process. And another thing that we need to possibly think about is we have the grant coming and we have people fundraising, and it was brought to my attention today. Should we have a number so that people aren't out there fundraising and we have a moving target? Oh, that wasn't enough. Oh, that wasn't enough. Should we have a number in mind that we're comfortable saying we would conserve the property
Forever.
for a set amount? And again, we don't have to, but we should
Think about it.
think about it
Okay.
and make a decision, because there are people that are going to be out there asking for money and they really should have a goal.
I have a quick question on the excluding the reservoir. Does that exclude like our emergency use of that water or that use in the future of the water?
The conservation easement will be drafted and we'll all see it and
Okay.
get input, but it will be very broad that, that this is any water use that we need, including future technologies.
Okay.
Are a permitted use.
Yeah, say we want to put a filter plant up there to
Right.
filter the water, we can still, the way I understood it before, we can
Yeah.
still do that.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's my I mean, it's gonna be it's our job to help.
Yeah, yeah, those are the questions you'll want to ask when the easement
When-
is
yeah.
drafted, yeah.
Okay.
And then when we have our attorneys look at it, those are the questions they'll ask. too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So it'll be your easement that you're putting together, so, you know, you'll, with the land trust, have total control over it.
Okay.
Laura picked up because I sent out some of the draft documents and, you know, it says no motorized vehicles, but
Mhm.
they already told me that that does not include snow. It
Snow
doesn't include
traveling.
snow traveling vehicles. So, but we want to make sure that that's clear, that we
Right.
aren't excluding,
You're correct, yeah.
snowmobiles.
Did we ever figure out if that's a class 4 road that goes through? Because this is another whole deal.
What's the
Grassy lane.
my understanding is there's 3 class 4 roads there's one that you go up to get to the actual reservoir. That's a class 4 grassy lane. And then there's one that's called like Schoolhouse Lane. It's just a line on a map. It's
Okay.
not really a visible.
So people do travel that class 4 road.
A lot, yeah,
with vehicles.
Yeah,
yes,
So That's
yes,
still gonna stay.
Yeah.
But
we can't
anything
change
off
that.
of that is
Right.
no
Exactly,
motorized vehicle.
Yeah.
right. And I think the main thing is,
I
you know,
agree with that.
bikes, motorbikes and dirt bikes,
Yeah.
you know, with motors. I think certain e-bikes are allowed, but, and snowmobiles would be allowed.
Well, snowmobiles pretty much stick right to that class 4
Exactly.
road, so.
Oh.
I
Great.
think we should have a field trip where Greg takes us
Oh, there you go.
select board or out.
Yeah, team building.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the Vondell Cobb Reservoir.
Reserve.
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 That's gonna be a hard one to get rid of.
And it, you know, as I think, was it Carrie said, people are gonna
Call
People
it
are gonna call
Vondell.
it what they call it, yeah.
who calls 6 Saskadina 6. Point. Okay, anything else?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.